world where Canada dominated the United States?
You know, we write science fiction, not fantasy, so we have to deal with the reality that we're 1/10 the size. We're very resource-rich, but we're 1/10 the size population-wise. Obviously, we're physically a bigger country than you guys, and we like to remind you of that periodically. But we just don't have the human capacity to be a big force in the world the way the United States is. That said, a large part of actually what MindScan is doing, MindScan is set in Detroit and Toronto, which are essentially the two sides of the Canada-US border over in that part of the world, and with a Canadian and an American main character, and a United States that has continued what we in Canada do see as a drift towards the right, and Canada continuing a drift towards the left, and 40 years down the road and dealing with that dichotomy. We will always be, by necessity, the best of friends, these two countries, and we do have the longest undefended border in the world between us. But that said, there does seem to be a widening gap between mainstream Canadian beliefs and mainstream American beliefs, and that is something that I'm directly exploring in my fiction. I don't think that there's a scenario where Canada, I can't see a scenario as far ahead as I can predict where Canada is going to dominate the United States, but I do see a scenario where there's going to be more and more friction, and indeed the United States demanding that Canadians have passports to enter the United States by 2008 is an example of that friction. Pierre Trudeau, who is one of our great prime ministers, we have as many lousy prime ministers as you've had lousy presidents, but we've had our share of great ones just as we've had great presidents, used to say that, you know, being next to the United States is like sleeping with an elephant. No matter how companionable the beast, you can't help but feel every little twitch and wiggle. And that's exactly the way it is. Canada will always be responding more to the United States than the United States does to Canada. The U.S. ambassador to Canada, or I guess the consular, because he's in New York City, was remarking on the fact that, I guess last month, for the first time in the 7 years that he had had the job, the word Canada had appeared above the fold on the front page of the New York Times, whereas the word United States or USA or America or something appears every day above the fold in the Globe and Mail, the Canadian national newspaper, or the Toronto Star, the largest circulation paper. But we do very much engage with these issues of what's Canadian, what's American, and where both those countries will be in the new century, in the new millennium.
Yeah, I think we're interestingly placed to address those issues, because you can't talk about the near or even the middle future without talking about the United States and the destiny of the United States and its role in the world. And we're placed to be intimately familiar with the United States, you know, with its media, with its culture, and with its people. But we still retain, I think, as Canadians, a certain outsider's perspective that lends us, if not objectivity, at least a different point of view from which to discuss these things.
I think what we'd like to do at this point is we're going to adjourn to the table out there. Do just come up and chat, buy a book if you like, but we're just sitting there at a discreet distance from the people who are taking cash, so we'll never know if you bought a book anyways. But we're happy to sign it, happy to continue the dialogue for as long as people want to stay. They have our books out there, as I say, Wrigley Cross has Bob's books and my books, but also is the only place where you can get my nonfiction book here. And I guess we have the privilege and honor, despite the comments about ghettoization at the beginning, to close out Wordstock. Bob and I got here in the middle of the afternoon, very impressed by what we saw. Of course, we also went to Powell's today, and we're extremely impressed by that. It's a wonderful town, a wonderful place. We're delighted that so many of you stayed till the very end of the festival to make us feel warmly welcome. We were very happy to be here. Thank you all very, very much.